Welcome for episode one of Building Blocks with Brendan. This was a fantastic episode I had with Mira, coworker, a good friend. It was a smashing good time. Really unique here how, she took a small hobby, making cakes for someone's birthday, and really turned it into a full-blown side hustle, side business. What was really interesting talking to her is that even though this was something that became more and more serious, you could say, quite time-consuming. In fact, one day selling 50 cakes in a single day, she still views it as something fun and something exciting to do. And I really think that is important to see, especially now with more and more younger people looking to get into side businesses, have those side hustles, look for different ways of income. Really keeping it fun and light is really what allows you to keep it going. She's been very consistent, selling about 5 cakes a week, and it's been almost close to a year with very much impressive success. So really excited to see what you guys think of episode 1, and I hope you enjoy.
Thank you so much, Brendan. So happy to be here.
So how'd you come up with Smash Cakes? So is the business Smash Bash Cakes? Where did the name come from? How'd you get into all this?
Awesome. Well, yes, the company is called Smash Bash Cakes, and I make really fun, different smash cakes. And for those of you who aren't aware of what a smash cake is, it's literally a cake that is made out of chocolate, hard chocolate, and inside is filled with tons of different types of candies, chocolate, gummies, and you are given a hammer and you have to smash it open. And so, it's kind of like a piñata, but they are a really fun way to celebrate your birthday or any type of occasion. And they're definitely very COVID friendly. So it's been, a really great present to send friends because you don't have to blow out any candles.
Oh, interesting. So I would never have thought of the candle being a concern for COVID. Now, is this something you started during COVID, started before COVID? Or was this a
Yeah.
COVID time project?
Yeah, so I started in October with no intention of making a business out of it. My friend is pregnant and was going to do a gender reveal, and I thought this would be a fun way to do it where you smash open the white cake and inside is either pink or blue candy. And so I kind of started seeing different smash cakes on Instagram in the fall. So I, gave myself the task to make one myself. And my friends loved it, and other friends wanted them. And then it kind of just took on its life of its own. And then I started actually selling them.
So when it started, how many people did you start making the cakes for? Was it one friend and then another friend, or how quickly did it go from a little hobby with a friend to oh shoot, I can make a few bucks doing this?
Well, I made all of my close friends. So I think I made 5 Halloween cakes to my close friends in Toronto as a test. And after that, after they posted on their Instagrams, I got someone who wanted to buy one for their husband's birthday. So I was able to actually make money very quickly.
That's amazing. So now your friends, they trust you. They know you're not gonna, you know, you're healthy. You can make the cake at home. When your first outside customer, how did that work? Was it a friend of a friend? Was it? I guess you said it was a friend of a friend, but how that transaction go?
Yeah.
Was it hey, is this a form you had to fill in? Was it a
Yeah.
formalized process, or was it still such a
No.
huge learning experience?
At the very, very first client I had, it was a friend of a friend, and very thankful that they took the plunge on me. But then, as I posted on Instagram, then I started getting customers who I didn't know, and they didn't know me. And so, really, it's all been people order their cakes through DMing myself on Instagram. Right now, I don't have a website, but I do like people messaging me for questions and pricing. And because Smash Cakes is very customized to the person, I like to be able to talk to the customer and really understand what they're looking for versus them, kind of just filling out a self-serve form on a website and ordering a cake that way.
So when I think of a smash cake or a little side project, I'm thinking you might be selling, 1 or 2 cakes a month. But I know from speaking to you, this is much more than just something where you're like, oh, I made $5, this year from it. It became quite a serious, almost I'd say, a job to some extent. Roughly how many are you selling a month these days? Like how busy are you for this, little apartment based mom and pop shop type business?
Yeah, it's definitely just a mom shop. I'm the only one doing it. It definitely depends on the month.
Mhm.
So around Christmas and Hanukkah, I think I did about 40 in 2 weeks for the holidays, and that was when I was pretty, starting to ramp up.
Mhm.
And then Valentine's Day was the next big one where I did about close to 50 in that 1 week, which was insane. And now, during, I guess, kind of quiet time, as I'll call it, anywhere between
Mhm.
5 to 10 cakes a week.
Oh wow. So that is quite a bit. So that's legitimately you're almost like a bakery, complete bakery. Now, I know when you started out, I'm assuming you just have like a few molds. You went to like a bulk bar and bought some candy. Has your process changed now you're getting more and more busy with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially as, I get corporate customers who are looking for a large batch. For example, someone who's ordering 25 cakes for their staff, it's really hard, to do it one at a time. So, yeah, I had to become a little more efficient and get multiple molds so that I could, make 3 cakes at a time versus, just doing one at a time.
That's quite a bit. So when you think of like starting a business, I know there's a huge push into like, okay, I need to buy this, buy that, get all these upfront costs.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you really started using Instagram, getting some molds. So I'm assuming it was not that expensive to start or get going. Like, what did you need to get started, really?
Yeah. And so because I used Instagram and I kind of build some hype, I was able
Mhm.
to buy equipment as I got orders, so I wasn't really pre-purchasing them and waiting for orders to come around. And I have to say that Amazon has been my best friend in terms of getting started because when I need a mold in 2 days, like they will send it to me for the most part, which is good. In terms of startup costs, yeah, absolutely. There were some startup costs, but just getting different types of molds and figuring out what type of chocolate works for me and the different coloring and candy. Right now, I am pretty uh, self-sufficient. I haven't really needed to order anything new. But in terms of startup costs, it's hard to say, but probably a couple $100s to get started.
That's not too bad. That's only and
Yeah.
roughly just how much are your cakes just to compare that?
So they range in prices depending on the size,
Mhm.
but the most popular standard sizes, the cakes range from 55 to $65.
Hmm. It's not
Yeah,
bad at all. And you're looking at the cost. There wasn't like a huge upfront cost to get those made, and it really,
exactly.
I'm assuming, started off more as a hobby. Now,
Yeah.
does this feel like a job yet, or is it still a hobby or a fun thing to do? Kind of, where are you on that scale of it's a job versus it's a passion project?
Yeah. It's definitely still, a hobby, and I'm so grateful for it because during COVID, it gives me something to do in the evenings and keeps me busy. I've always loved cooking and baking specifically, so this is something that allows me to do that and stay busy and stay creative while, making a little money off of it. It's definitely not a full-time job because I have a full-time job that keeps me very busy as well, but this is just something that kind of fills in the gaps, and like I said, during COVID, it's amazing. I plan to keep doing it, once COVID's over, right? So, because I've definitely found that there's a lot of demand for this type of cake and this type of product. So I'm kind of just going with it day by day.
So I'm assuming I'm thinking of a cake with COVID. Was there a fear of like handing off these cakes, or like when people are ordering, was the concern of what are your, I guess you say, safety practices, or like
Yeah.
how is this going? Was that a something that came up multiple times, or is it not as common just because when you started out, you had a few closer friends who were more trustworthy?
It's a good question and something that I make sure that I have my own high standards. So
Mhm,
because I am, a home-based business and
mhm,
kitchen, I make sure that everything is sanitary and that I'm wearing gloves at all times and that, everything is fully, clean and safe. If someone does have preference, when it comes to candy, they have the option of having fully wrapped candy if that's, makes them feel more comfortable versus having, bulk gummies and chocolates that way. But I'll have to say, for the most part, everyone is, very happy with having unwrapped candy. I think, at the start there was a little more hesitation, but as we've kind of gone along in society, people aren't sanitizing their groceries like they were, 8
mhm,
months ago, and people definitely recognize that,
mhm,
it's pretty safe to eat candy that was handled safely by someone else.
mhm. And when I'm, have you had any? I know with a lot of candy, there's like the peanut allergy thing.
Yeah.
Has that come up where, there's
Yeah.
certain specific things where you're like, I can't do
Yes.
this, or kind of how does that
Yes.
work out?
So, the 2 yeah, so nut allergy and celiac. So, nut allergy, obviously, I can't, guarantee that there's no traces of nuts, because, in my kitchen, I do handle candy with nuts, but I am definitely accommodating if someone is okay with, traces, happy to just do no nut, cake. And then celiac, so I actually have a lot of celiac clients because, they can't typically eat a regular birthday cake, or if they can, it's, not very good for the most part. And this is something
Mhm.
fun and unique that they can still have to celebrate their birthday. So we just do all gummies, and they're very happy with that.
That makes a lot of sense because there's no flour, no nothing. Pretty much anyone can eat it as long as you
Exactly.
can eat chocolate or at least candy.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
it sounds like what this is quite successful. Got a few. You mean keeping busy? That's almost a close to not really a cake a day, but close to a cake a day.
Yeah.
Um, Before I get to my next question, I was thinking, as it became a business, did you have any other businesses in the past? Like it for most people, I would think when it comes to starting, even having a hobby and turning it, commercializing, there's a lot of
Mhm.
fear, uncertainty, not sure like how you could do it. Do you have history doing this in the past, or has this been your first venture into that kind of world of baking for profit? I guess you'd say.
Well, I haven't, done anything, similar in the sense of, like, selling baked goods or anything, but I've always been doing something. So, before this, I had my own, wellness and skincare, Instagram account where I was, busy, talking about different brands and, educating my followers on how to support their skin and how to live a healthy life.
Mhm,
So that kept me busy. And then, thinking back to when I was a kid, I would create like a store in my house and sell my parents'
mhm,
items that we owned, and I would get money for
mhm,
them buying them back. And I made a newspaper. And I it's funny because I don't think of myself as someone who is like an entrepreneur or like a busy person. I When I think of myself, I think of myself
mhm,
as lazy. But when I
mhm,
think about everything that I've done, I guess I have, always had some type of thing on the go to keep me busy in addition to, like,
mhm,
my full-time job or school.
mhm. So that's really interesting how you say it's like you almost viewed this more as a like a project and then it became a business. And I find a lot of times
Exactly.
that's almost one of the best ways of doing it just because there's not a lot of pressure in the sense that you're not forcefully looking out for customers. It's more of a something you could grow almost naturally. And it really did take off with
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I guess one thing that always comes up is that, if you're looking this more as even if it's not your obviously not your main job, more of a side project, the idea of scalability. Like there's only one of you, like you said.
Yeah,
Um, has that come up where you're like where you have I'm assuming you're going to have to start or you have already been turning down business. Have you
yeah.
looked at somehow expanding or kind of
Yeah.
how can you expand besides buying, a factory almost?
It's a good question, and it's something that I struggle with where, Valentine's Day, for example, it was like the busiest time for me. And unfortunately, I had to turn down a lot of business because I wasn't able to keep up with the demand. And I hate having to turn away customers.
Mhm.
But like you said, there's only one of me. I've thought about, you know, um, hiring help, but I would need to get a commercial kitchen because, I don't want to have another person in my house and, it eats into the profits, right? And so
Mhm.
I'm not there right yet in terms of scalability. And one thing that kind of goes back to what I was talking about previously is when people order,
Mhm.
they order through DMing me. So I'm able to
Mhm.
control the volume and, kind of match it to my schedule. Whereas if someone was just kind of going on a website and ordering whenever they want, it would be a lot harder for myself to manage. And then another piece too is that if I know in advance, I can, handle volume because smash cakes are not like regular cakes where there's a shelf life. So smash cakes can last for a very long time because it's literally just chocolate and candy inside. So I can make, if I know that I have an order for 20 cakes at the end of the month, I can start making those in advance and still be able to, service the everyday client as well.
Mhm. And when someone wants to order, how long ahead of time, or what's your lead time typically to get a cake from ideation, having that discussion to in their hands and smashing open?
I mean, so ideally a week's notice is great
Mhm.
for, a regular birthday cake or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, but sometimes it comes up where someone's like, I need a cake in 2 days, can you do it? And
Mhm.
I always try my best to accommodate them, but I do usually ask for at least a week's notice. But for special
Mhm.
occasions and holidays like Valentine's Day and Easter coming up,
Mhm.
those are much, there's lots of demand, and those you would typically need to order at least 2 or 3 weeks in advance.
That's not too bad overall, especially a birthday. You know when their birthday is. It's not going to be a surprise,
Exactly.
hopefully.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I know you said there's different molds, there's different ways of doing it. I- Initially, I'm assuming it was pretty consistent. Have you ventured into new designs, like how do you get creative with smash cakes besides, is it design work? Are you experimenting with lettering? Have you taken inspiration from other places as well? Kind of how's it evolving since you really started with that? I'm assuming one mold, one design. Kind of where are you today?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I mean, I'm always looking for new and exciting molds.
Mhm.
So, like I said, Amazon does have a lot of great ones, but I also, like to support local businesses in Toronto. So, looking on their websites and seeing what they do offer.
Mhm.
Um, especially with holidays coming up, sourcing out different molds that, match that. So, for Easter coming up, I have a really cute big bunny mold that I'm going to be launching soon. And for St.
Mhm.
Patty's Day coming up, I have some four-leaf clovers. So it's really just a matter of what I can find and what I can get. And then also to what people want. So some customers will come to me with a specific idea or a request. And then I have to think, okay, can I do that or can I not do that? Because a lot of people don't realize that it is all based from molds. I'm not,
Mhm.
freehanding and crafting this chocolate by hand, so I can't, the shapes are
Mhm.
not unlimited. So it's a fine balance between what I can get, and what the client
Mhm.
wants too.
Mhm. A lot more shapes than I thought. Speaking of that bunny, I feel as time goes on, as um, there are more and more molds added to your repertoire. There's very unique designs you can do, and um, this is kind of interesting question. So, have you considered how you can almost stay, even though this is not a full time job, it's more of a hobby? Have you considered how you can stay competitive or have a competitive advantage? I know
Yeah.
that's a very buzzwordy term to use, but have you thought about kind of how you can
Yeah.
almost develop yourself as a brand overall?
Yeah, and there are so many other businesses popping up who are making smash cakes. It's definitely a trend right now, and people are kind of hopping on the bandwagon. And so, in terms of staying competitive and staying fresh, and it's just important to come up with new ideas and that other people aren't doing. So, for example, a lot of people are doing this heart, and I've seen so many
Mhm.
people do this heart, and I have not done this specific heart because everyone else is doing it. So I try to keep it unique and creative, and I do a lot of like decorations and designs on the cake itself. So that is something that's unique to Smash Bash cakes. And, for example, I came out with mini smash cake cupcakes, and I
Mhm.
haven't seen those anywhere else. So it's really just being able to have a creative eye, keep an eye out for, new ideas and acting on them quickly before, someone else is going to
Mhm.
follow your lead.
That makes a lot of sense. And you mostly went through Instagram. It seems. Is Instagram just because it's the most visual? That's where a lot of smash cakes are. And how soon did you create an Instagram account? Was it your first cake you created it, or was it after a while? Kind of how fast before you got into that marketing and branding side of things?
Well, I knew that if I wanted to actually sell these, I had to make an
Mhm.
Instagram. So I made an Instagram account really the first day I started sending out these cakes to
Mhm.
my friends, because I know that Instagram is a place where people are purchasing things. I know myself, I have bought, you know, really nice cookies and other desserts on Instagram. Being able to find local businesses and local artists and bakers, you really can only do it through Instagram right now. So I knew that in terms of getting my
Yeah.
business off, I had to go through Instagram, and that's my only means of, communication. I do have a TikTok, but in terms of business and fulfilling orders, it all comes through Instagram.
And it makes a lot of sense. Instagram's hyper visual, a lot of bakery, a lot of interesting things to do with it. Now we've talked a lot about the good, kind of all the learning experiences, a lot that has been achieved by you. I mean, Valentine's Day being super popular, for the 40 to 50 cakes. It's quite significant. That's, quite a bit of cakes. I don't know if I've made 40 cakes in my life, let alone for a single event. Now, has there been things you've had to obviously learn on job, but has there been learning experiences, whether it become to, now you're almost in customer, you have to be customer service rep at the
Yeah,
same time where people not showing up, people maybe being angry, like
yeah.
how have you dealt with that? And has there been any challenges with kind of having to manage other people's expectations and not only just do it for yourself and your own enjoyment?
Absolutely. I've gotten to the point where, yes, I'm putting my customer service hat on. A couple examples. So, during Valentine's Day, I was had an influx of orders, as I mentioned. And I always knew at the back of my head, I was like, there's going to be a day when I forget an order. And that day came on Valentine's Day weekend, where the customer sent me a message saying, "Hey, what time can I expect my cake today?" And I was already at my cottage outside of the city. I've done all my deliveries for the week. And my heart just sank, and I felt so horrible that I missed that cake. And so, I issued a refund, and I made her kids two. I made her an additional cake, so she got two cakes, and just had to make it right because I felt so horrible. But you have to be in the you're in the customer service business, right? As a business. And then the other thing too is that I've learned and I've become very, very particular about, is because smash cakes are so delicate, they need to be handled properly. So when it comes to deliveries, I will deliver them myself. I don't want to hire a third party or courier because I just can't trust anyone else. But I did deliver a cake to someone's concierge safely, but the concierge actually dropped the cake and it broke. And the customer called me and was so upset. She knew it wasn't my fault at all, but she was so devastated. And
Mhm.
I felt so horrible too. So, I obviously wanted to make that customer happy and offer to make her another cake and really do whatever I can to make
Mhm.
the customers happy.
That is true. I mean, once it's broken, it's completely broken. Have you now when you were starting making them? Was there a point where you had to figure out like the consistency? Was there like you had to, like almost become an engineer at some point?
Oh
And are
yeah,
there certain molds that are just too big that just
yeah.
fall apart? Like, is there testing on actually like the physical structure of these mold like cakes?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there are certain molds that just will not work. I've tried them, and the chocolate breaks when you try and pull it out. And even to this
Mm,
day, like just for example, today I made a cake that I like a regular mold that I've used probably 100 times. And there's just days where the chocolate just does not come out well and it cracks. And so I had to redo the cake 3 times today just because that's kind of how it works. So I'm still, it's been 5 months in and I'm still learning about what's the best technique,
mhm.
what, the best temperature points are, how much to let it rest before removing it from the mold. So there's tons of learnings, even to this day.
Now that's interesting. So there, you're talking about temperatures and the process around that. Have you do you have like a system now where you're like, okay, boil it to like 7, whatever degrees Fahrenheit, mold for 2
Yeah.
minute, I guess 2 hours. Do you have it all memorized, kind of written down, and do you stick to a process just because your volume's so high now? Is it like almost second nature now that everything's almost in the supply chain?
Yeah, no, it's very easy just melting the chocolate and just ensuring that, it's really important. I don't know if you've ever melted chocolate before, but
Hmm.
you have to do it on a very low temp so that it
Hmm.
doesn't seize up and it doesn't burn. So, just
Hmm.
making sure that you're monitoring the temperature and how long
Hmm.
it's sitting there. And yeah, I mean, it is, fairly routine now, but like I said, things happen, the weather outside can affect the temperature in the condo, and that can also affect the temperature of how much moisture is in the air, and that can affect the chocolate too. So there's so many different variables, so it is fairly routine, but there's always going to be something at play.
Hmm. And because you make so many, do you have like a bulk of chocolate hidden in your house now, or like is it still quite like little batches here and there? And is it only one type of chocolate, or can you mix and match? Or like kind of how does the chocolate work for all this?
So that's a good question, and I'll give you the inside scoop, a little secret. So I
Mhm.
actually don't use a real chocolate. I use something called a candy melt. So candy melt is,
Oh.
maybe you guys have seen them. It's these little circles of chocolate, different colors, and they're a
Mhm.
lot easier to manipulate and work with when it comes to melting them down and freezing them and hardening them
Interesting.
than regular chocolate. So they also taste amazing. People literally message me saying, "Oh my god, I cannot believe how good the chocolate tastes. I didn't think it was gonna taste that good." And like, it's because it's kind of like a vanilla infused candy melt that looks
Mhm.
like white chocolate, and it's so good. So in terms of coloring, I gotta say, COVID has actually impacted my supply because they're having supply issues. So usually I get my candy melts and they come in a whole range of different colors. But COVID
Mhm.
has actually impacted the different colors that I have access to. So right now I'm really working off, my ideal is to work off white candy melts and then I dye them the color
Mhm.
that we're looking for. But then around
Oh.
Christmas and January, there are no white candy melts at all in Toronto, like literally none. And that was a huge problem for me because that's, all I
Mhm.
use. So I actually went back to using white chocolate and it just didn't work the same way for me. The consistency wasn't good. It was not good for me. So, that was actually a little hiccup that I had to deal with and kind of source out what other stores and companies can I access to get these candy
Mhm.
melts because of this shortage.
That's so funny. You would never think of like like a smaller business having like legitimate supply chain issues with
Yeah.
like what you would see on TV almost where you have to call suppliers and kind of figure it out. Now, do you buy all your chocolate typically from one location and like do they know you by name now? Or
It's
they're like,
so
oh,
funny you
hey,
say
Mira, here's
that.
another 70 pounds of
It's
chocolate.
so funny you say that. So when this shortage happened, I had to source out, different places, and I was able to find a local Toronto store called Madame Gâteau on the Danforth. It's a really great little shop that has different bakeware and cookware, and they actually had the white melts. So every week I was going and picking up candy melts, and it got to the point where I didn't even have to say hello or say what my name is. The lady would just give me my bag. So she knew who I was. She knew my order. So that was kind of cool, and it was really nice being able to support a local business versus going
Mhm.
to Bulk Barn or Michael's. So I still go there all the time, and it's great.
That's so funny how you almost had to, well, luckily kind of find almost a little
Yeah,
local supplier. Now you have
yeah,
a working business relationship with someone relatively close to you. So
exactly.
now that we're coming close to the end of this discussion, kind of what is, you know, you've only been doing this for 5 to 6 months, relatively new, but still
Hmm.
quite a bit of time. Do you have a future plan for this?
Yeah,
Are you planning on expanding to other? Like I know you said some cupcake experiments, some different molds experiments. Kind of what 5 months from now, so you have the whole year in review type thing. Where are you trying to? Is there an end goal or a goal you're trying to work towards, or is it still one of those things with just because it's still so time consuming, you're really closer to reaching your almost your capacity of kind of keeping this as a
yeah.
hobby business?
Well, I think just because it is not my end goal
Mhm,
to do this full time and make this a career, it's definitely
mhm,
something that is a really great hobby that is profitable and brings me joy. But in terms of some developments that I have in the works, I plan on expanding to Muskoka this summer. So I'll be
Ooh,
servicing the Muskoka region to those who live up there and have cottages. So that will be really exciting. Still being able to service
mhm,
Toronto, but now I'll be able to have a little further reach. And then, just kind of going with the flow. That's kind of, who I am and what
mhm.
my motto is, and see, what the demand is, and like I mentioned earlier, just consistently being creative and coming up with new ideas and seeing what I can do, and just trying to get better at my craft, and just so that I can continue to bring in new business, and make sure my clients are happy.
And where can people find you if they want to get in contact? What is the Insta?
Yeah, so the Insta is at Smash Bash Cakes on Instagram. And if you are interested in learning more about, prices or, cakes and all of that, you can DM me at any time. And I do local delivery in Toronto and, as I mentioned, in Muskoka this summer.
Are you gonna do deliveries by boat? Is that your next big thing? Are you gonna
By
be the
Sea-Doo.
Uber Eats with little Sea-Doo delivery at the
Yeah,
dock
we'll
to
do it
dock?
by Sea-Doo.
It's so exciting. All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks for having me.